What is up, everybody? You're very welcome along to this special video. I have a special guest today. Delighted to say I'm joined by somebody who you probably recognize from Redmen TV, somebody who we actually have a very long relationship with, a good friend of ours. It is great to finally catch up with Jack Gill. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, mate. It's been a long time coming this, hasn't it? I'm delighted to join you today, mate.
Yeah, I tell you what, we couldn't have picked a better time to have a catch-up chat, could we, with everything that's going on around LFC at the minute, Jack?
Yeah, when you said Monday to me, I thought, it's going to be one or two ways here. We're still going to be ecstatic by the Thiago and Jota signings, or it's going to be dead miserable after the game against Chelsea. But, luckily, I think our performance yesterday was absolutely unbelievable. I'm sure we'll talk more in a minute, but it's just got us all on this extra special high on a Monday.
I tell you what, I've been trying to blag a bit of a Thiago lookalike myself, but I tell you, I'm second place to you, Jack. You've got the Thiago vibe going on, buddy.
I've had a few say that. I'm hoping it's true, but I don't see it myself. But it makes my day when people say it. So yeah, that's the look I'm going for from now on. I just need to dress like him.
You're doing well, mate. You're doing well. Look, we'll start off with Thiago. We'll start off with the Michael Edwards masterclass in the way that the deal was structured. Obviously, we heard lots of back and forth from Bayern Munich, some potential interest from Manchester United at the time, and Barcelona obviously was mentioned as well. But Michael Edwards went in there and somehow structured the deal that will see us pay £5 million a year over the course of the contract, plus that potential $5 million in add-ons. It almost seems criminal, Jack.
Absolutely, it's an incredible deal. It's a typical Liverpool Football Club deal, and one that's going to benefit us massively. I think it's one of the best deals that Liverpool will end up doing in the history of this football club. We saw his ability yesterday from just 45 minutes. I don't think it was ever a doubt how much he wanted Liverpool. I think we all knew that, but at the same time, we all had Timo Werner in our minds from that situation there. So, I think with Thiago, it was all about striking a deal at the right time, and I think FSG got it spot on. The timing of the deal, getting him in before this Chelsea game, and striking the deal they did, like you say, it's effectively £5 million a year, which, for a player of Thiago's quality is just unbelievable. We've effectively picked up one of the best midfielders in the world, if not the best midfielder in the world, and we're paying just £5 million a year for him. I think it's unbelievable business.
At 29, it's really unusual. I'm trying to think back through my time supporting the club, which, it's probably no shock for people to know I'm a little bit older than you, Jack, but in my time watching the club, this is one of the rare times that I remember Liverpool going out and getting somebody right at the peak of their powers, right at the top of the game. I mean, he couldn't be any more so. Just won the Champions League with Bayern Munich, was sensational in that little mini tournament that took place throughout the time in that Champions League with those one-legged affairs. And I don't know about you, man, but this just feels special. It feels like a real statement from the club.
Yeah, I put a tweet out when it first happened, saying that I'm 21. There isn't a single world-class player in my lifetime that is as good as Thiago that Liverpool have signed, and that's what made this so much more exciting. Yesterday's game, it was like I was watching football for the first time again when he came off the bench. It was just a sight that I absolutely loved, and every time he got on the ball, I was on the edge of my seat. It was just absolutely incredible, mate. And that was after 45. That was 45 minutes after one training session with his football club. He probably doesn't know the players' names yet, and he's producing performances like that. I think it's phenomenal, and we can all be very excited right now for what happens next with Thiago. I think the main thing for us is keeping this lad fit all season, because we know he's got a bit of an injury history, but if we can keep him fit, he's a player that he's a groundbreaking signing. He really, really is.
What we did see was, as you said, he came on half-time yesterday. We're recording this, by the way, for people on Monday. It'll be going out on Wednesday, but he did come on at half-time. And you wondered what impact he'd have on the game. Yes, Chelsea went on to 10 men. We were expected to see more of the ball, but that record, we have to touch on the record. 75 passes in 45 minutes, the most passes since records have been kept in a 45-minute period. And as you said, one training session and his first time on the pitch for the Reds.
He just makes the game look easy, absolutely easy. And don't get me wrong, I was very confused at the time why Chelsea seemed to be sitting off him so much. It was like they did not know what to do with him. But Was it that, or was it the fact he kept finding little pockets of space? I think that's the more likely thing, the more probable thing, that Thiago's movement off the ball created all that space, and you just saw straight away he unlocked Dutch Genie Wijnaldum. You know, you saw in that second half, Genie was going forward so much more. He was effectively playing on the right side alongside Trent at one point. I just thought it was magnificent how much we improved. We saw some brilliant tackles from him during the game as well, and some great passionate reactions from him as well when he put them in. I just think it was the perfect debut for Thiago Alcantara, and you know, since he signed, I've had that song stuck in my head throughout, and I think every Liverpool fan will throughout his 4 years at the club. It's just such an exciting signing, and yeah, mate, I can't praise him enough. I really can't. He's a player that I was excited about before he was at Liverpool. He's a player that you just know is world class, and the fact he is now at our football club still shocks me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We've got a lot to look forward to, but the good news didn't stop there. Very quickly after Thiago was announced and we were all doing cartwheels, and like you, I'm actually sitting here now humming that song inside my own head. I can't get it out. A news came that kind of shocked us a little bit. Now, we should be used to Jurgen Klopp and Liverpool shocking us. Obviously, he came from the same agency, George Mendes and the Gestifood agency that brought Fabinho to Liverpool, got us Diogo Jota from Wolves, and credit to both sides of this for keeping it extremely quiet. But what was your reaction when you heard that we were signing Jota?
It's dead interesting because for a couple of years I've spoke to my cousin about this lad, and I think he goes under the radar against Wolves. When you think Wolves, you think Adama Traore and Raul Jimenez. But this lad, you know, he's got a decent amount of goals. I think he scored 16 goals last season for Wolves, and Wolves fans believe that was, you know, not him at his best. I think Klopp can unlock a player like him, really can get the best out of him. His stats are very similar to Sadio's at Southampton. He's versatile. He can play anywhere across that front three, absolutely anywhere. You know, he's just 23 years old. He's Premier League proven. And a lot of people look at that price tag right now and think, oh, that's a bit high. But I guarantee you, mate, in a couple of years, it won't look high at all. And Jurgen Klopp will do what Jurgen Klopp does and make it look like an absolute steal of a signing. I think the important thing about this as well is that he'd accept being a rotation player. I think with Timo Werner, I've seen a lot on Twitter of people comparing, saying, oh, they weren't willing to spend 50 million on Timo, but they're buying Jota for you know, a very similar price. You've got to think about wages in that, and the fact that Jota's wages will be a lot lower. You also have to look at the fact that Timo Werner, was so excited and wanted to get out of Leipzig so much that he's willing to not play in Champions League quarter-final for them. He was just desperate for a move, whereas Liverpool have waited. We've bided our time. We've got Diogo Jota, who is a fantastic player. We're paying in instalments. It's 9 million for this first year. So yeah, you know, in all, we're paying more than we probably wanted to for Jota, but I think we've got a deal that is right. I think we've got a player that is right, and a player that fits the system and Klopp's style of play perfectly. And you know, I'm really, really, really excited by this signing.
Yeah, you touched on the Werner thing, and there was a lot of Liverpool fans inquiring as to how we can spend 46 million pound potentially on Diogo Jota, but we couldn't come up with the money for Werner. And you've rightly said it was a matter of timing as well. I mean, things were still unfolding with regards to the coronavirus and where the football world was going to be. So the club were still looking at their finances. And Werner, I think, would have been much more money up front, probably higher wages than Diogo Jota. And it's a masterstroke to me, Jack. It was one of those signings that once I heard the name, I thought, I didn't think of that, but wow, I can totally understand where the manager's coming from. I was a little bit shocked to find out that he was only 23 years of age. Feels like one of those players that's been around a little bit longer, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, and that's another exciting thing about him is the youthful side. The fact he's only 23, he's been a consistent performer in what is a very exciting Wolves side, and the fact that he's now going to be playing under Jurgen Klopp. I think the sky's the limit for Jota. I really, really do. He was a player that I was very fond of before his move to us. And I'm just really excited to see how he fits in. I think he's going to fit like a glove. I really do. But just to go into what you were saying there about the style of the market as well. We've seen from situations like the Kijana Hoover situation, the Rhian Brewster thing, where he's continually linked with a permanent move rather than a loan. This window is different. It's like no other. Liverpool are moving smartly. We're moving sensibly, and FSG are doing fantastic moves. We've had to be smart this window. Other clubs are just spending money left, right, and centre, and they're going to have a lot of money to owe when this is all over. Whereas Liverpool and FSG in particular are making sure that this club is protected from all of that. And we're making some very, very smart moves. Kijana Hoover, I'm absolutely gutted to see him go. But in the circumstances with everything going on this season, a move with a sell-on fee and a potential buyback clause looks outstanding, because we get short-term money for him, and in the future, if he becomes the star that I think he can be, there's a chance we could even get him back. So it works better than a loan right now with everything going on with coronavirus and all the financial business side of things in this crazy world we're living right now.
Yeah, I was talking to Dave from Talk Wolves, and I think you guys had him on as well. And we were talking about the structure of the deal and Kijana Hoover going the opposite direction. And potentially to Liverpool, this could go up to £13.5 million, I believe, with add-ons for Kijana Hoover, as well as that 50% sell-on clause that you touched on as well. So let's say down the line, he becomes a £50 million fullback, which is not unusual in this market. Chilwell, any number of Manchester City fullbacks. Liverpool could potentially end up bringing in maybe £20 million for Kijana Hoover, who they bought for, I believe, around 90 grand or something like that. And one thing that strikes me about the Kijana Hoover situation, Jack, is Klopp and Klopp's belief that players need to go and play and not to stand in his way. We've got Neco Williams, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold. We seem to have that right side covered. Everybody will agree, and you touched on it as well. Kijana Hoover is an excellent player, but that system that Wolves play, he can play as a third centre back, he can play as a right back, he can play as a right wing back. It's almost tailor made for him.
Yeah, I was just about to say, in terms of Kijana Hoover, I've said for a long period of time that actually that right back position isn't his best position. I prefer him at right centre back in a 3. But we don't play that style, and realistically, I think the club were expecting him to grow more as a player physically in the last couple of years, which he hasn't done, and he doesn't. His physicality doesn't match a typical Premier League centre half. So I think for him, it was actually Klopp thought, looking at him, I can't play him at centre back in the league. If he gets in this team at any point, it would be right back. I don't play a 3 back, so it would be right back. And I've got Nico and Trent ahead of him. So therefore, he didn't stand in his way. We've cashed in. It looks like a good deal for both parties, but it doesn't stop the deal from being an upsetting one, because it's like Tariq Lamptey at Brighton. Now he's a player that for a couple of months before he went to Brighton, I was watching him closely in Chelsea's youth team. I was really, really excited by him. He moves on deadline day to Brighton, a club that, under Graham Potter are moving in the right direction. They're wanting to play football, and I'm seeing straight away, actually, this is an incredible move for him. And now look at him, the sky's the limit. He just needed that trust and faith being put in him, which he was never gonna get at Chelsea. And I think for Hoover, it's the same. He's just unfortunate that our squad is in the position that it's in at the minute. At the same time, I think he could become a brilliant player in Europe, and Wolves would be a very good stepping stone for that.
Yeah, he's got an excellent coach as well with Nuno to be working with there. You touched on, there's a couple of things actually you touched on that I wanted to talk about before we quickly look ahead to the rest of the season. You touched on Graham Potter there, the manager, obviously, of Brighton, and it looks like, as things stand now, this could change. Liverpool aren't going to be dipping their toes into the market to get that centre-back, that fourth centre-back. We've seen Fabinho obviously play there yesterday. But I'm wondering, you touched on Graham Potter. I'm leading to Ben White. That's where I'm going with this conversation. He's somebody who I followed through his time at Leeds, and somebody who, for me, just looks like somebody who would fit into our system rather nicely. And I'm wondering, will we give him that year at Brighton and maybe then go and make an approach? We've seen Darren McAnthony, the Peterborough chairman, basically pleading with Liverpool to go out and sign him. What's your thoughts on Ben White?
A good player, a good young player, a player that I know Liverpool were interested in. But nothing's come of it, and I think that's because Brighton was so desperate to keep hold of him. We've seen Leeds put in a few bids, but they've not managed to get him. And there was that whole free Ben White thing that was trending on Twitter at one point. He's clearly a big part of Graham Potter's plans, and I think Brighton as a football club are moving forwards. I've tipped them for a top half finish this season because I just really like the style of football. I think they're only missing a couple of things from being a top half side. I think they were very unlucky with the position they finished last season. As I say, and I could keep saying, Tariq Lamptey is a real talent. He is going to become a real star. His stats against Chelsea on the first game of the season were unbelievable. He controlled the game against Newcastle yesterday. His pace and his ability to produce them recovery runs to win the ball back if he does make a mistake, puts him on a level that he's, as I keep saying, the sky's the limit, where actually he could progress a massive amount. And you know what? I'd even go as far as comparing him to Alphonso Davies. I really would.
That's a massive comparison. I have a feeling we're going to reevaluate the Ben White situation next summer. I really do think we're going to keep tabs on him for the season.
It wouldn't surprise me, mate. I think the only issue is the cost. He might be priced out of a move. I know he's just signed a new long-term contract with Brighton. There's a lot of clubs interested as well. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with you if we do that. Obviously, we've got Matip at the minute, who I think could move on next year because I think there's a worry over his injury history and what happens there. So it'll be interesting. I definitely think Liverpool will be in the market for a centre-back next summer, though, and I would be tipping it to be Ben White.
The one piece of transfer business, Jack, that this whole window that has me worried is the Rhian Brewster situation. We all remember how hard Jurgen Klopp and the club fought to keep Rhian Brewster, to get him to sign that professional contract, cancelling the friendly with Borussia Mönchengladbach at the time. And as Melissa already wrote a brilliant article on it, there was loads of clubs sniffing around to try and get Rhian Brewster. So to me, the loan, I understood, I completely got that. Working under potentially Chris Wilder made lots of sense to me as well. The dossier that Chris Wilder put together to show how he developed Rhian Brewster as well, that all made sense. But I have to say, I understand the theory behind the buyback clause and selling them on permanently, freeing up cash and stuff. But I just wonder, for Rhian as a player, does that show belief from the club? Even if there is a buyback clause in there, it's got me a bit worried, Jack.
He's a star, and it is really worrying. But I think the issue with Rhian Brewster is the system. I really do. I think he doesn't fit it. He's a brilliant finisher. He's a natural goal scorer. He loves getting in attacking positions, which is all the opposite of Bobby Firmino and that number 9 that Jurgen Klopp likes, where he likes a defensive number 9. That's why the loan to Sheffield United made perfect sense, because Brewster would have learned so much there off a good coach in Chris Wilder. He'd have learned that defensive striker role with more game time than he'd get at Liverpool. So that made tons and tons of sense. Now him going to a club like Crystal Palace or Brighton, I've seen him linked with, would mean he plays as more of a striker and more of a natural finisher, which he loves, which makes sense why they want to buy him permanently and why Liverpool would be more willing to sell him permanently. I think for these sort of clubs as well, Craig, it's a risk because the competition in the Premier League is improving massively, and these players that are all interested in him are all like bottom half sort of sides who, are all under pressure to make good signings. And if Brewster's not quite ready yet and he has just one season there, they're missing out. So I think for them to get what everybody knows how good of a talent Rhian Brewster is, for them to get somebody like that under their wing and know that he's theirs, would be better for these clubs in those sorts of positions. So, I think it's one of them situations where in this, as I said before, in this current market, I can see it happening. But if it wasn't for the coronavirus pandemic, it'd be something that I'd be like, why is this a thing? And I don't think it would be a situation that we're in if it wasn't for the pandemic. I think Rhian Brewster is desperate for football. And yeah, if I'm genuinely honest, Craig, I think the way forward for Brewster in this system would be in a Salah sort of role. Or if we were to change to 4-2-3-1, he'd be good at the top of that. But, now we have players that fit really well in that 4-3-3 that we like playing with the false 9. Minamino can play in that false 9. Obviously, we've got Bobby, who's tried and trusted with it and world class in that role. Klopp has said numerous times that he's tried Ox in there a couple of times and likes what he sees there too. Jota can play there as well. So I think there's just no room for strikers like Brewster and Origi in this squad right now. If I had to lose one of the two, I'd be more inclined to say that I'd rather Origi go personally, because I know the star that Brewster can become. He just needs time to evolve to the system. And I think he just wants regular first team football now.
Excellently put. I agree with almost everything that you've said there. One more signing that we have made that we need to touch on, I suppose, Kostas Tsimikas, or Chimikas. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce that. There's two sides to this, I suppose. First of all, we went to Norwich. No secret there. We're looking for Jamal Lewis. I believe he cancelled a holiday short to try and get that deal done. And it was strange the way that evolved, because we were quoted one price and basically told it was 20 million or go away. And Newcastle went in, I think, a fee rising maybe to 15 with add-ons. I felt for Jamal Lewis as a person in that situation, but I was very happy that the club had a number 2 option lined up, or I don't even know if he was number 2. They had an alternative option lined up, and Kostas Tsimikas looks like a very good piece of business.
I think they're showing with Max Aarons as well, Norwich, that they're not a team that will be easily bought off by the big clubs, and that's why they said no and asked for more. They picked the wrong team to do that with, though. Obviously, there was us and Leicester, and we're not the sort of clubs to do that. If it was United or Chelsea or City even, maybe they'd throw extra cash. But with Liverpool and Leicester in the current market that I've spoken about earlier on, it wasn't going to happen, and he's ended up forcing a move probably to Newcastle, where it's a cheaper deal. But yeah, you can't help but feel sorry for Jamal Lewis and Max Aarons. Max Aarons, of course, been reportedly denied a move to Barcelona.
That's mad. Come on, man. That's mad. Barcelona, and how could you say no? How could you hold that kid back? Like, sorry for cutting across you, but that is mental.
It's all right. It is just bizarre. I hear they've bid and loaned and attempt to sign him on loan, and Norwich have rejected both. So it's absolutely mental. But it clearly shows that Norwich feel that they don't have to sell. So that's the mark of a big club. So fair play to them. But yeah, Kostas Tsimikas, I think, is a great signing and provides cover. You look at this Liverpool squad right now, it was only a couple of months ago that we were all moaning that it was really, really weak and the weakest of all the top clubs in England. But now it looks so strong, and we're in a situation where we've got Lincoln on Thursday and we don't know who to play. Our second string squad looks really strong. Our third string squad would be strong. And I'm really, really impressed with Liverpool's business this summer. I think it went in a couple of days from being an underwhelming transfer window to a perfect one.
A lot of our business has been young players coming in, and I know that's something that you're, particularly keeping an eye on. And the likes of Billy Cometio, Harvey Elliott, obviously last year. I mean, the future is very bright. I suppose the mark of a great manager, Jack, is to build your second team, and by that I mean, with your players aging, your next team coming through. And it's been a while since we've had a manager that's been able to stay that long and do that at Liverpool. But again, Klopp, the recruitment team, they seem to be getting that spot on as well.
Yeah, back when my dad was a young Red, obviously Liverpool dominated everything. I was born into a world where Liverpool weren't as dominant, and we had players like Steven Gerrard, Luis Suarez, Xabi Alonso, Fernando Torres popping up every now and again. But we weren't winning trophies, and we weren't sustaining the model. Sometimes we'd win the odd trophy here or there, or finish second in the league. But we couldn't make sure that was sustainable. Whereas now, that is exactly what Jurgen Klopp is doing. We've won our first title in 30 years, and now we want more. And that's as simple as it is. We've won the Champions League, now the Premier League, and Klopp now isn't happy with just that. He wants to win it repeatedly, and that's what he's building us for in the future. I know he said that he'll leave in 2024, but it doesn't mean that the progression of Liverpool Football Club and the world-class club that we've brought ourselves back up to now has to change anything when Klopp leaves. He's trying to build this club for long-term success after he leaves this football club, and it's a big claim again and a bold claim, but it's Shankly like, Craig. It really is. And when Jurgen Klopp leaves this football club, I think he really will be compared to Shankly and Paisley as one of the greats at this football club, because the things he's doing for short-term success, long-term success is just incredible.
I remember when he came in, one of the phrases I remember him saying was that he will leave this club in a better place than when he arrived. And sometimes you don't get that with the likes of a Jose Mourinho, who leaves you with an aging list of players on a high wage bill. And I think Jurgen Klopp will be a man of his word. You touched on the domestic cups. You talked about Lincoln, obviously coming up on Thursday. How do you feel about them this season, Jack? Do you want to see Liverpool? I think it's been a bit unfair, by the way, on Jurgen Klopp, that people just think he dismisses these competitions. I don't think he does. There's been a little bit of bad luck, obviously, with replays, the World Club Championship stopped us from being able to field a proper team against Villa. What are you hoping for this year?
I think with these competitions, they're not something that as Liverpool fans we're really excited by. It's not something that we're really annoyed at when we get knocked out or if we get knocked out. But it's something that I see as I want to win every game, or I at least want to win the game that's ahead. And then when it gets to like the quarterfinal, semi-final, excuse me, we look then and reassess and go, you know what, this is another chance at another piece of silverware that we can get. And that's the situation. I think Klopp will put out a team on Thursday that is capable of beating Lincoln. I then think the next week he'll put out a team that he believes is second string, rest players that need to be rested, but is also capable of beating either Arsenal or Leicester, whichever one of the two it is. But yeah, I think it's something that we can be really excited about these cup competitions because it's a chance to see players that we wouldn't usually see. And as I say, our second string side looks a lot stronger this season. So it's definitely something that I think, like last season, people seem to think that Klopp disrespected them. These sorts of competitions, but as you say there, I don't think he did at all. We got knocked out to Aston Villa in the Carabao Cup after being screwed over by the people higher up in the FA and other other things like that, and then the FA Cup. We were against a good side in Chelsea, who, as we know, have a very, very good second string. And there was an Adrian mistake in the middle of that. Who knows what could have happened on a different night. So I think it's one of them things where we could be going into one of these competitions thinking, it's Jurgen Klopp, it's this competition, we're playing our second string. But we could end up coming away as winners and with another trophy under our belt because we've just got such a good squad right now, and everything about this football club is so perfect that I just never think Liverpool are going to lose anymore, Craig. I really don't.
I can get on board with that, Jack. I can definitely get on board with that. Look, I want to let you go in a second, but before I do, just let people know what they can expect from Jack, what's coming up, what you've got coming up on Redmen, and where they can find you.
Yeah, I do most of the academy stuff on Redmen, so that's at Redmen Academy. We obviously have our own YouTube as well, but I'm on the main channel a lot too. And then obviously, if you follow my Twitter, which is at JackLFCGill, you'll see the Redmen channel on there all the time. You'll see all the things I think about youth football, Liverpool's first team, stuff like that. So yeah, thank you, Craig, for that. But yeah, I really appreciate you having me on here as well.
It's been too long, Jack. We must keep catching up on a more regular basis. And lots of regards to the guys, Ross, Chris, Paul over at Redmen TV. Please pass on our regards to them as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard where you can find Jack. All the links will be in the description of the video as well. Thank you so much for watching. We'd love to know your thoughts on Jota, everything that we spoke about in the video. You know where the comment section is. Thank you very much to Jack Gill, and we'll be back soon.